Hi, my name is David Craker, and I'm the chairman of the Sesquicentennial Task Force, and this is the June Sesquicentennial Moment. When you think of June, you think of weddings, and I had the pleasure of interviewing 3 wedding coordinators for Plymouth: Ann Hughes, the current wedding coordinator, Sharon Conrad, and Mary Ellen Beitman. Mary Ellen was unable to actually attend the interview because she suffered an injury the day that we were set to record and was not able to make it, but she did supply me her answers and her memories from being the wedding coordinator, and I shared those on her behalf during the interview. So the first question I have for you ladies is, when were you the wedding coordinator? And Mary Ellen says she was the first wedding coordinator of the church, at least that they can remember, and that she was there from 1982 to 1997. And then I think, Sharon, you took over after that. So what years were you coordinator?
I did replace Mary Ellen, and I was coordinator from 97 to 2009. And during that time period, I worked with 90 couples in blessings, marriage blessings, as well as union ceremonies.
Great. And then Ann, you've been the wedding coordinator since 2009?
Yeah, around then, yeah.
Okay. And what are the duties of a wedding coordinator? But people in the congregation might not actually know what you do and your responsibilities.
Well, I tell people the simple answer is I get everybody down the aisle in the right order. Tell them where to stand and what to do and when to do it. And, you know, and we plan out where everyone's going to stand and how the movements go, and before the ceremony, during the ceremony, after the ceremony. And it relieves the pastor of having to do those kind of tasks. It leaves them to do their pastoring, and we do the coordinating, I guess it is.
You handle all the logistics then.
The logistics, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, I asked Mary Ellen, since she's on the Sesquicentennial Task Force with me, and of course we're all about the history of the church for the past 150 years, when was the first recorded wedding at the church? And from a cookbook of 100 years of cooking that was celebrated around our 100th anniversary, there was an insert in that seemed to indicate that the first recorded wedding at the church was July 6th, 1876. Where the bride was Lila Reddington Chamberlain, who was the mother of Louise Folsom. And what are the current guidelines for who can get married at the church?
Well, currently, Reverend Ruth likes people to either be a member or have gone to Plymouth for at least 6 months, and have. In past years, there were people who were loosely affiliated with Plymouth, but I think we're not going to do that as much moving forward. I haven't had any weddings with Reverend Murphy.
Yeah, Mary Ellen, when I asked her that question, she said that back when she started, you know, the sanctuary was open to just about anyone, and the word got out that we had a pretty building, and they were doing 3 to 4 weddings per month, sometimes 2 weddings on a single Saturday.
Oh,
and it was just crazy during that time. And she even remembers one time where a Greek couple rented out the sanctuary and actually had a Greek style wedding. She said that was a very memorable wedding because it was very distinctive and different from some of the other weddings that she had done. So good. So how have weddings changed during your tenures of the coordinator?
When I started in 1997, the girls were still wearing pantyhose. And that became an issue for one wedding because the bride requested that they wear a particular brand and a particular color. Come the day of the wedding, someone bought an off-brand and an off-color.
Oh my.
And this broke this girl's heart. I finally had to just play mom and say, are you going to let this whole day be ruined, over a $3 pair of pantyhose. But I says, there's no but about it. You want to get married, let's just, nobody's going to see them. Let's just move on. Well, I guess you're right. But as time went on, the pantyhose disappeared and the bare legs just,
Yeah.
the long dresses, I could never figure out why it was so critical anyway.
Yeah. Cute.
Yeah, Mary Ellen remembered that when she started doing weddings, some of the things that have gone away is now ushers and the groomsmen are the same, where before, the ushers were separate from the groomsmen. Now weddings more combine those roles. Nowadays, there's less candles, and aisle runners have kind of seemed to go away with weddings. And when she started, she remembered that the brides were more in their early 20s, bride and groom. And as her tenure went through, by the time she got to 1997, she noticed that more of the brides and groom were in their late 20s getting married. So those were her memories of how things changed during her time.
Mm-hmm.
Anne, any?
I'll have to say that we're pretty flexible anymore. If people want to enter in a certain way, we let them do that. And if they want to stand in a certain order, we let them do that. And especially since we have same-sex marriages, sometimes we have men and women on both sides, mixed up, and it all works.
The strangest request I had, they asked if they could be married barefoot. And I said, no, I'm sorry. I said, you have to remember where you are, and we show a certain amount of respect. I had another ask if they could have their dog in the wedding. And I said, no, I'm sorry, that won't work.
No.
Are there any wedding traditions of the past that you wish were still observed, or any of them that you're glad went by the wayside? But the one that I thought of is I'm certainly glad that the baby blue wide lapel tuxedos of the 1970s have gone away.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah. Well, since we got the new carpet in the sanctuary, we don't let people put runners in there. And I've had several brides who are not happy about that, but we just don't let them do that.
With the runners, you had to tape them and you had to pin them, and then you just hoped that when the usher started to unfold it, it would stay where it was supposed to stay.
Yeah, we just don't let them do that anymore just because of the carpet.
Were there any weddings that really stand out in your memory during the times of coordinator? And I'll start with Mary Allen's. It was a really hot summer day, and this was before the church had any air conditioning, and the church was full to the brim with people. A lot of them were city officials, and she thinks she remembers that the groom was an official in the city, so it had a lot of dignitaries and things, and everybody was sweating. It was just a hot day, and the bride was more than 30 minutes late, and her and the minister were just wringing their hands, waiting for the wedding to start. And the groom was relaxed and sitting in the Folsom room and not carrying away. But yeah, it was, that was one of the most unique ones she remembers.
Oh my. We had one military wedding with the swords outside, making the tunnel. That one was really cool.
I had something that I really treasure. We had a couple that lived at an ARC group home, and they were in their late 40s, and they just radiated love for each other. Well, they could not legally marry, and we did this as a favor to the lady who was the director of ARC. And the bride wore a pretty little white dress, and she had a little veil in her hair. And we went through everything just as if we were having a wedding. And they exchanged rings, and you may kiss your bride, the whole thing. And when they were done, all we could hear was, "We're married, we're married." But they couldn't legally because of their mental state. and it would mean giving up benefits. But the joy that was in that sanctuary that day was unbelievable.
That's neat. That's neat. So, looking back in your 10 years as wedding coordinator, you know, what personally gave you the fondest memory? What did you enjoy most about being the wedding coordinator? And again, I'll interject for Mary Ellen here. She just really enjoyed giving her time to the church and to the bride. And like you said earlier, taking a lot of the responsibilities off of the minister to free the minister up to do the ministering and not do the trivial things or important things. But, you know, so she would make sure that the marriage license was signed and the marriage license got sent into the church and the bride and groom were well stocked with water as they were preparing, and all those little things that you don't think of normally, but the wedding coordinator, you know, and it makes the days extra special, and that's what she finally remembered during her time.
Mm-hmm.
Sharon?
Well, if I had a 6 o'clock ceremony, I would usually arrive at the church maybe 1:30 or 2 o'clock because there were flowers to be delivered. The girls came and started to get dressed. And it might be an hour or two after everyone left before I would leave. And I have to add that for 8 years, I had the help of Kay Porter. And it kept both of us jumping. We cleared the pews after everybody left. And even though we had a custodian on site, we didn't want him to have to stay until 9 o'clock or come in real early to get the sanctuary ready for service the next day, because at that point we were still having an 8 o'clock service.
What I would say is I like getting to know the couples, and then especially, you know, a couple years later, then they have a little one and you get to see them. I really enjoy that because we have that memory and we have that bond.
I do want to extend my thank you to both of you ladies for your tenure, and Anna, as you continue. Probably haven't had a lot of weddings this summer, have you?
I was just telling you earlier, we have one scheduled for September, and I haven't heard whether it's happening or not.
We'll keep
I
our
have a
fingers
young
crossed.
friend that's being married Labor Day weekend, and I talked to her this afternoon. She's going on the cautious side. She's had satin mask
Oh my goodness.
for the
Yeah.
bridal party.
Oh my goodness.
Definitely some creative wedding photos that will come out of this incredible year, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Yeah, thank you ladies for your time, and really appreciate you getting together and sharing your memories with the Congregation of Plymouth, and again for your service to you know, the church and to the brides and grooms. So thank you all very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Dave.
Have a great evening. Bye-bye.